Hey, you're listening to Northern Soul, and today we're going to be discussing why is it that when you pray that your prayers are never answered. I know some people might have their prayers answered, but it seemed like it never worked for me when I was a lot younger and into religion, because I grew up with that sort of thing. I find out later on that it seems like the Bible itself and a lot of the information in it was removed or heavily edited. So a lot of the really good stuff was taken out. So when you add back in the stuff that's missing, which has been found, which I will actually bring up, I'll show you the stuff and we'll discuss it later on in the video. Um, then it all kind of makes sense on like what's the missing piece and why it doesn't work, and then how to make it actually work. So what is actual prayer and how does it work as the mechanism so that it will get answered in a manner of speaking. And that's the big question, right? Like, why doesn't it work? Why are so many people following religion at all if it's all just made up, BS? Because there's a lot of people that put all their hopes on it. Like they've got nothing, they got no way out. They need a miracle, and a lot of those that are down and out, and I've been there, and I know a lot of you that are probably listening in on this saw the title and wanted to click on it, want to know, are either down and out or are confused by the whole, like, well, why doesn't it work? Or former religious people or whatever. So I think a good start would be for me to talk about the start, my journey into finding this information, and then presenting it to you at the end and explaining it. So just kind of sit back, relax, get a drink if you need to. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that. I hope that by the end of the video, you'll really get something from it worth your while. So welcome, spend some time and just relax, chill out, and let's get started. So I think the best part is to start off probably with a story on this, and then you'll see how I came about, and you probably have a similar story so that we can kind of see it from the same point of view. You might have a different story, it's fine, but we'll come to the same conclusion in the end. So it all started when I was young, kind of born into a family that was Christian, and we went to church, but it wasn't like serious stuff. So it's kind of like just special occasion church. We went pretty much for the special occasions, the holiday, weddings, Christmas, Easter, that sort of thing. But it was always a serious affair. It almost seems like everybody in there was like really, it's like God would strike you at any moment if you did something wrong. And a lot of the teachings in the Bible, like we had it read every morning at school before school started. Lord's Prayer. It would be reading some passages of the Bible from like a teacher would do that, and then you do like "Oh Canada," and then start school. So it's kind of like an easy way. You just sit there, listen to a story, and when you're really really young, these stories, like, you take it in because this is what's being taught, right? So you take all this stuff in as truth, especially when it's coming from adults and teachers and stuff. And at a time when punishment was pretty severe, you definitely didn't go out of line, but at least I didn't back in that day. So you ended up being this person that was, you had the fear of God in you, right? So you did do that. But the idea was, it was taught that if you're a good person, God will help people that were good and straightforward and all that stuff. So I, pretty much took that in along with school, being young, interested in girls and stuff like that. But eventually what happens is you start using that whole prayer thing, because it's like, well, if there's God, then I should be able to ask some questions and stuff and try to get some free stuff, right? Because you'll want that robot gift for Christmas, or you want, oh, you like this girl or whatever. So it's like, oh, please let her like me, whatever. And then you can go out, or let me do good on this test. I'm too lazy to study for it, but I don't want to fail it. And, stuff, stupid shit. But at the end of the day, at that time, it's important for you. And then as you get older, as you get to work and start getting bills and stuff, you start asking for more, like, desperate. It seems like prayer becomes a call of desperation. That's where I'm getting to here. At the time you need your prayers answered the most is the time you realize that there is no one on the other end. They're never answered. And then the question becomes, am I just an idiot? Basically, just talking to myself literally with prayer, and I'm the only one that doesn't get the joke, or there's other people that don't get the joke, everybody that goes to church. Why is it not working? Is it not real? So there's a point after that where it's like, you'll make a deal with anyone. You'll make a deal with the devil if someone will answer any sort of prayer, because it's like, is this even real? And it's a valid question at that point, where you have to, you're exploring what is reality at this point. At least I was. And after like absolutely no answer from anybody or anything for a number of times, like, you try to do your best, and it's like, well, I guess, there is no God then. So at that point, you become an atheist, so you don't believe in anything. But that's not necessarily, I find, true either, because if you look at, and I've studied I've always been into like biology, physics, all this, the high end sort of science stuff, like even into like space and all that stuff, like planets. When you delve into the deeper aspects of that, and later on quantum physics started coming into play and stuff, when you start delving into that, you start seeing a pattern of intelligence. And even the scientists themselves, going back, you'll see that there is some sort of relation. They're separate. Religion and science is separate, but there comes a point outside of the literal aspect of reading a Bible or whatnot and science. They start to connect. And when I started looking into the law of attraction, came up, and started researching that. Like, I'll research anything that looks interesting, and then I'll try to see if it's legit or not. Because you don't want to be that one person that thinks that's, oh yeah, this is like, I want proof, right? So you start seeing with looking into untampered with, really old spiritual teachings, like texts that were never touched. They were always reproduced exactly from day one. You find that has links into what science is showing, at least in quantum physics and stuff, and then you can link them together. But it seems like the missing link is like, there's something in the Bible. Interestingly enough, we find out later on that the Bible itself was heavily edited at a time, and also books were removed from it. So it's the Bible itself is a collection of books that, when put all together, is like New Testament, Old Testament. And what they found with like the finding of like the Dead Sea Scrolls and others, they find that, there were texts actually removed from it. So at best right now, the any sort of priest or anything that's understanding of that would say that the Bible is incomplete in its current form. So the Bible you buy today, and that's being taught to people in churches and stuff like that, is an incomplete, heavily edited text translated in a language that may not have an appropriate word in the translation. So it might be something off, which will give you, when read, will give you a completely misunderstood idea of what's happening, like what the point of it was. And a lot of people take like the Bible literally, word for word as well, which I don't think it was designed for. Remember, this stuff was designed back in the day when everything was story driven, and you can imagine with the heavily edited texts and removed books at a time when people, they couldn't even read. Like, the illiteracy rate was very high. If you're just a peasant, farmer and stuff like that, you didn't have any proper formal education. That was for nobles at the time, and emperors and kings and stuff like that. So those are the people that got the education. And to keep people from uprising and stuff, the last thing you'd want to know, or the last thing you want to do, is have a text telling them about their own power and stuff like that. So what you do is you just edit out the parts that, you make it sound really good, edit all the parts that actually give people the power and the knowledge, because knowledge is power. So you keep that to yourself, and then take out books that don't fit your agenda. Now, because we're talking like human beings, everyone selfishly doing what they think is best for them. It's specifically not best for everybody else, but for them. So you can imagine a king or whatnot ordering editing of a script with lots of great juicy information for people and knowledge, actual wisdom, and saying, well, let's get rid of some of this stuff, because then I seem like a more powerful king and I can control the people better. And they'll think, church and state work together. So, they have the fear of God, they fear the church, and therefore they're easily controlled. Interestingly enough as well, that some of the books removed were actually written by women. So you can imagine at a time in whatever, 16th century or whatever, whenever that was, they removed books that were written by women because obviously you can't have any sort of evidence of intelligent women writing stuff because then there'd be questions about that, right? So you can see how not a big surprise. I can imagine back then. Today it would be deplorable to hear that for someone to do that today, but back in the day, business as usual, men were on top, and that's how it was. So that's interesting as well, and you can easily imagine why that would happen, and then why the rest would be edited and stuff out as well. It's all about power and that sort of thing. So let's get to, like, there's still good stuff in the Bible, like asking it and it shall be given, and knock and the door will open and stuff like this. But it's incomplete. It doesn't really tell you. So you think, oh, asking it is given. Okay, well, I'll ask for a raise or I'll ask for a bunch of money. But it doesn't tell you the mechanism of it properly. So you kind of sit in it the wrong way. So I'm going to add in right now, I'm going to put on your screen the actual stuff that was edited out that I thought was compelling enough for me to actually do this video. And I want to present it to anybody on the internet that wishes to find this sort of knowledge. So the first part is the phrase, ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. So we're actually touching on the mechanism of prayer. So this is going to be discussing how to actually, like how prayer actually works, how to do it properly. If you want your prayers answered, this is how you do it. This is the message to how to do it. So ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. So let's break this down. So ask without hidden motive means that you want to ask the actual, like what you actually want, the goal, not the first thing in front of you. So let's say, for example, you want to get some money. You need money. So you're like, oh man, I don't know where I'm going to get this money to pay these bills and whatnot. So can you please send some money? Like I just need money from anywhere, whatever, a new job or whatever. So you'd have a hidden motive behind it because the goal isn't just to get money. Money is just the symbol of energy exchange. So you have to go deeper than that. So you have to ask, well, why do you want the money? So it's like, well, I want the money because it allows me to like buy things that I want. Okay. Well, let's go deeper in that then. Why do you want money to buy things that you want? And the idea is at the end, typically for all things, is that in the having of it, you believe you will be happy. So at the end of the day, the hidden motive is always just to be happy. Like you want to be happy. You want to be safe. You want to be secure. You want to be at peace. All this stuff, all this pleasant stuff. That's why you're asking for these things. But if you're asking for just the waypoints to your actual goal, that's the hidden motive. So you want to really ask these questions, and when you're praying for something, you want to ask for the end result. Now, since we're going to ask for to be happy, and so you say you have money and you have all this stuff. So now the next part is, and be surrounded by your answer. So if you answer, what would that look like if your prayers were answered? So for example, say you want a new car or something like that. So you wouldn't ask for money for a new car. You want the new car. That's the goal, right? Without hidden motive. What you want to do is you get that and you want to be surrounded by. So you want to visually, like in your mind's eye, or pretend when you're in your car that you already have the car that you want. And when you're driving around, like go act as if you act like you would if you had that car. So if you would be driving more with that car, then you need to be driving more. And if you're not driving a car currently because you don't have one and you like one, that's what the prayer is about, then you need to just sit on the couch or whatever and envision yourself in your mind's eye. So using your imagination, imagining what that would be like. End result, so already completed. As you can see, this phrase is very similar to everything that's told on a law of attraction and stuff. Asking it is given, all that stuff. You have to, visualization is one of the keys. This is basically the Bible's version of visualization. So it's just kind of cross-confirming. This is why I think it's so important. So ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. That's part one. Part two is be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness be full. So sounds similar to one, but the idea is that your gladness be full. So kind of weird wording, phrasing back then, but that's kind of how they talk back then. So for us, we're just going to break that down into simple terms from today, which means being enveloped. So that's fully engrossed, fully exposed, like just being overwhelmed overall with what you desire, and then that your gladness be full. So that means just being happy, but to the nth degree where it's almost uncomfortably happy. So you want to be like blissful, overjoyed, that sort of thing. So you're enveloped, you're overwhelmed with the satisfaction, the joy, the bliss of being surrounded by your answer. So you tie them both together. So you imagine that end result, so already achieving it, and then like living in it, basking in it, enjoying every moment of it. And that is basically how prayer works. If you want it to actually work without having no one pick up on the other end. So it's not that there's someone else or some being or anything on the other end of it. It's you manifesting and creating through visualization and through energizing and pushing forward and giving it a life of its own, breathing life into it by the energy you exude behind it. So then you create a specific frequency for it, and then it has no choice but to go out and come back. Hence, ask and it is given. So send out and then it returns in a physicality through the potentiality of the fabric of the universe. And then it becomes physical manifestation, right? So now we're talking physics at that point. So it all intermingles with the right word and phrasing, all different, whether it's spiritual, whether it's this lost biblical text, or whether it's quantum physics. You can start seeing a picture. They're all kind of painting the same picture. So hopefully that helps. It might take a while to you might have to go through it a couple times and practice a bit to get good at it. But if you like it, please give us a like and subscribe for more stuff. I kind of go through some of this stuff periodically as it inspires me to do so. And just think about subscribing, like I said, and enjoy. And hopefully all your prayers from now on will be answered.